Welcome to the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard and Intermediate Maintenance Facility Change of Command Ceremony. Attending today's ceremony are senior military officers, civilian officials, commanding officers of ships and shore activities, as well as family and friends of Captain Jip Mosman and Captain J.D. Crinklaw. Thank you for being here. We're honored to have you present. The change of command ceremony that you're about to witness is not prescribed specifically by Navy regulations, but rather a long-standing naval tradition formally restating the continuity of the authority of the command to the men and women assigned to the unit. Only in the military does this instantaneous transfer of complete and total authority and total responsibility from one individual to another exist. Staff, attention. Bosun's mate, post the side, boys. Guests, please rise for the arrival of the official party and remain standing during our national anthem and the invocation. Bandmaster, sound attention. Puget Sound Naval Shipyard and Intermediate Maintenance Facility arriving. Captain, United States Navy, arriving. Deputy Commander, Industrial Operations, Naval Sea Systems Command, arriving. Color Guard, parade the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, Navy Band Northwest will now play our national anthem. Chaplain Burns will now deliver the invocation.
Almighty God, we come before you on the occasion of this change of command, to acknowledge that all authority comes from you, to invite your presence with us in this ceremony, to commend to your continual care and guidance the military and civilian of the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard and Intermediate Maintenance Facility, and to ask your blessing upon their commander. Thank you for blessing these men and women with the vision, leadership, and mentorship of Captain Jip Mosman. We are grateful to you for his example as a commander, naval officer, husband, and father. Thank you for blessing him and this crew with the support of his wife Amy and their son RJ and daughter Riley. As the Mosmans prepare for the transition ahead, may you guard their way and prepare each of them for the new heights and challenges which are to come. As Captain J.D. Crinklaw assumes command, we ask that you guide him and his wife, Junko, in carrying out this new responsibility. Bless them and their son Kai. Grant them a sense of your abiding presence and wisdom. Sustain them through the challenges that are before them, and may you be to them a constant comfort and peace. We additionally ask that you would guide each and every member of this shipyard and maintenance facility, both now and in the future, and those who are in leadership over them. May your presence and peace be with them and their families as they balance the demands of service to their families, their fellow sailors, and their countrymen in the uncertain times before us. Protect them from all evil and harm, and strengthen them to meet the challenges of each new day. All this we ask in your holy name. Amen.
Bosun's mate, retire the side, boys. Staff at ease, guests, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Jip Mosman, Commander, Puget Sound Naval Shipyard and Intermediate Maintenance Facility.
Good morning. I don't know if that's good. You want me to leave because I'm done or just getting started? No, hey, it's great to see here. It's a little cliche when we do these changes of command to say, hey, it's glad to have the band here, because if you don't have the band, you don't have an audience, it's not a good change of command. So the band's here, you're here, it's a great day. So thank you very much. All right, so I'm going to introduce a few people, and then we'll get going here. So first I want to introduce Admiral Scott Brown. He is the Deputy Commander, Industrial Operations, Naval Sea Systems Command, AKA NAVCO4, AKA my boss. Thank you, Admiral, for being here. I will tell you that, those you don't know, I've worked for Admiral Brown before, back when he was CO at Norfolk Naval Shipyard. It's great to work for him again, and I really appreciate being here, Admiral. Thank you. I want to also, before I forget, we have other flags, Vice Admiral Galinas, Admiral Benning, Admiral Sucato, and many other people here, community leaders. Thank you very much for being here today, too. There are a couple other people on this stage that some of you might recognize, and I want to explain why they're up here. So after 10 years of driving ships and operating reactors and going to school, in 2006 I came to this shipyard. I came to Puget Sound Naval Shipyard for my first shipyard tour. And I showed up and I was told by Code 300, hey, get down to the Lincoln Project. And I got down to the Lincoln Project and I was told, hey, go find Mike Irby. He's a nuke zone manager out there. He'll teach you everything you need to know about shipyards. And I didn't know AIM from RDU from anything. And shops, codes, all mysteries to me. So I went down to hang out with Mike for a while. And while I was with Mike, I met somebody named Brian Fazio. And Brian was doing some check valve work down there. Well, let me tell you a little bit about Brian, and I'll get back to Mike. Brian is very organized. He always has a plan. He is a fantastic person. He always would drop everything he did to take care of me and to make sure I had what I needed. And I'll tell you what, when I thought about this ceremony and I said, I need somebody organized. I need somebody to keep us all in line. I need somebody to have a backup plan if we get off course. I knew Brian was the right guy to do it. So I very much appreciate Brian being here today to be my MC. And lastly, and I'm going to turn over to the mic here in just a second, the mic to Mike. Mike Irby was that nuke zone manager that took me under his wing, and I was a naive young lieutenant trying to figure out what Shipyard even meant, whether this was the career for me or not. And Mike took a lot of time with me, showed me everything, and really helped me build a foundation that 17 years later, I'm still standing on today. So again, when it came time to have someone speak, I wanted Mike to do it. He built what I was able to stand on and able to rely on for many years. So with that, Mike, I'm going to turn it over to you.
So with an introduction like that, I almost seem as if I need to change my speech, but I'm going to stick with it for now. Good morning. So my initial encounter with Captain Jip Mosman occurred back in late 2006, as he just said. He came up to me, introduced himself, and announced he had been directed to shadow me. Apparently, someone had told him that I would teach him everything he needed to know about being a zone manager. I remembered him as an energetic young lieutenant who was driven to absorb all the knowledge he could about ship maintenance and executing availabilities. He was eager to learn and very personable, but a little too nice for my liking. To be honest, I did not see him as a shipyard commander material back then. He was too happy, positive, and approachable. I suppose these are some of the exact qualities Rear Admiral Brown would want his leaders to possess. But what does he know? The shipyard can be a tough place to work. Very rewarding, but challenging and demanding. I, on the other hand, perceived these softer attributes as red flags. To put it plainly, Captain Mosman was just too dang bubbly. I had worked too many long hours and stressed over too many jobs. I was in a perpetual state of downright grumpiness. As I mentioned earlier, at the time Captain Mosman's maiden tour at PSNS occurred, I was assigned as a zone manager on a very challenging aircraft carrier availability. I was not overly thrilled with the prospect of being attached at the hip to someone I knew nothing about. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I was not invested in development, or that I didn't understand the value of mentoring, or that I was just plain averse to people. But at the time, I felt my work took priority. I was super busy because I was working such arduous hours and I had so many things on my plate. Any additional tasking was a distraction that I could do without. Nonetheless, our partnership and mutual learning experience began. I got to know Captain Mosman, got a better understanding of what he valued, saw how invested he was in improving his understanding of shipyard maintenance, how truly grateful he was for the opportunity we had to share our knowledge, and how he interacted with the people. My initial concern was quickly dismissed, and I was committed to contributing and having a positive impact by strengthening his knowledge base. I committed the time to help in any way possible, not only because it was the right thing to do, but because he made it so easy. The man is just downright likable. On top of that, I was impressed by the young leader I saw, particularly because it was obvious he prioritized the most important aspect of our business, our people. The aircraft carrier maintenance community is a tight-knit organization, As I ascended in my career through the project management route, I was afforded the opportunity to occasionally cross paths with Captain Mosman, even after our showering partnership, be it at Carrier Team 1 event, another shipyard, or at NAVSEA headquarters. After each of these encounters, I was more and more impressed by the step changes I observed in his growth and leadership abilities. That was when I realized he really did have what it takes to be a shipyard commander. I reflected on our time together back in 2006, when we were basically conjoined twins, and hoped I didn't have too many bad days or act like an absolute jerk to the guy who would someday be my boss. When I heard the news that he would be succeeding Captain Wolfson as the shipyard commander, I was both nervous and happy for him. I was worried, not because I did not have the confidence in his ability to perform the job. My worry was that lasting impression of how easygoing and nice he was. I was nervous for him because I had experience with many prior shipyard commanding officers, and I could only imagine how difficult achieving success in that position could be. I observed some of the rigors of the position firsthand and knew how it could be taxing on all aspects of an individual's life. It is this distinction, the ability to take all of this on and never forget who matters the most, that in my mind separates the elite in leadership. Captain Mosman is indeed an elite leader whose priority really is his people. This is evident through his actions and interactions on a daily basis. During his tenure as our shipyard commander, Captain Mosman has made it a priority to tour out on the waterfront at least 2 to 3 times each week for face-to-face interaction with our deck plate professionals. He truly wants to hear the concerns of our folks firsthand, to hold himself accountable to meeting their needs. His actions also set the standard for his leadership team in regards to his own expectations and the importance he places on senior leaders being involved and present in the day-to-day operations of the shipyard, and more importantly, communications with our people. While it would surely take me all day to properly put in perspective what this esteemed leader has achieved in his 30 months leading Puget Sound Naval Shipyard, an intermediate maintenance facility, I would be remiss without at least mentioning that every decision made by Captain Mosman was done with consideration for his people and how every decision affects them on a daily basis, as well as over the long haul. The buy-in and trust this creates amongst the workforce cannot be undersold. Many people have shared with me how appreciative they are of his approachability, good humor, and ability to listen. I am somewhat envious of Norfolk Naval Shipyard, as I know firsthand the quality of leader they are about to have the pleasure to work with, who is already invested in their success, and who will work extremely hard for what is best for them, and in turn, best for our enterprise. I would like to take this moment and thank you, sir, for all you have done for me personally, for our command, and most importantly, our people. I consider it a true honor to have served for you and alongside you, and on this day, to be the voice of the people who, how I like to say, perform the complex tasks that take care of our families. Our engineers, technicians, analysts, inspectors, and most of all, our mechanics. I truly feel that if each of these folks I mentioned had the opportunity to stand in my shoes today, they would echo the words I've spoken, albeit probably a bit more eloquently. Your leadership would be missed tremendously. Fair winds, following seas, and I wish you nothing but successes at America's oldest shipyard. Thank you for all you have done and for all that you're about to do. Thank you, boss.
Thank you, Mike. Your words were powerful inspirational and heartfelt, and they will not soon be forgotten. Bless you, Mike. Ladies and gentlemen, Rear Admiral Scott Brown.
Hey, good morning, Puget Sound Naval Shipyard. Morning. Just a few brief remarks. I asked Capt. Mosman yesterday, hey, do you want me to talk? He said, yeah, briefly. Right. So it's the key word on brief. I'll be very brief. But I want to make a few short remarks. I've known Jip for a long time, and it's an honor for me to be on the stage right now. First thing, our Navy and military face tremendous challenges today into the future. The China and Russian threats are real. Our success in this peer competition depends on our military strength. Puget Sound Naval Shipyard, Trident Refit Facility Bangor, the Everett, San Diego, Yokosuka detachments provide the foundation for that military strength. The country needs you, and the country needs solid leaders. Leaders who have a clear vision, competence, character, integrity, humility, and empathy to pull us forward to overcome the tremendous challenges in front of us. These two officers here exhibit all those traits, and we're extremely grateful for their leadership, commitment, and sacrifice. Our country needs good leaders. Capt. Mosman, thank you for your impact over the last 2.5 years. You've made a difference here. I look forward to your continued success. And I know you'll make a difference at Norfolk as well. And Captain Crinklaw, welcome aboard.
Rear Admiral Brown will now present Captain Mosman with his End of Tour Award. Guests, please rise. Staff, attention to award. The President of the United States takes pleasure in presenting the Legion of Merit to Captain James Mosman, United States Navy, for service as set forth in the following. Citation: for exceptionally meritorious conduct in the performance of outstanding service as Commander of Puget Sound Naval Shipyard and Intermediate Maintenance Facility, Bremerton, Washington, from November 2020 to May 2023. Captain Mosman led a force of over 14,000 civilians and 800 military in maintaining the fleet's Nimitz-class carriers and strategic Trident Force guided missile submarines, Seawolf-class subs, surface ships, and the only inactivation recycling reactor compartment disposal program in the Navy across Bremerton, Bangor, Everett, San Diego, and Yokosuka. He instituted significant process improvements by maintaining relentless focus on improving safety and quality while fostering a culture of excellence through transparent leadership. He fully embraced a get real, get better mentality and led the enterprise in naval sustainment system shipyard efforts. Captain Mosman developed a transformation and change management team. His shipyard is consistently the model for all other yards. His leadership resulted in the timely delivery of 8 aircraft carrier Avails, 3 submarine NACs, and the completion of an SSBN refueling and an SSGN extended refit period. By his dynamic direction, keen judgment, loyal devotion to duty, Captain Mosman reflected great credit upon himself and upheld the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. For the President, W.J. Galinas, Vice Admiral, United States Navy. Guests, please be seated. Staff at ease. And ladies and gentlemen, Captain Jip Mosman.
All right, can everybody hear me? I'm doing this because I don't like to be caught behind the podium. All right, so thank you, Brian. Appreciate that. So I'll tell you, it's daunting to stand in front of all of you. Many people. What do you say? What do you say at the end of a tour? How do you wrap it all up? How do you make it, memorable? It's challenging. In my time here at the shipyard, I've had time to speak in front of many people. I've gone through a journey myself on how I speak. At first, I had a teleprompter and somebody else wrote the words for me, and I sounded like a robot when I read it. That wasn't very good, so I said, all right, let's try something different. PAO said, why don't you try memorizing it? That didn't work either. I couldn't remember everything that I'd written down and tried to memorize. So then we did Q&A, and then we went to bulletized notes. And then we went to Brian Fazio style, note cards. So, but really today I want to speak just really from the heart, but I've got the note cards in case I mess up. But as I go back to my roots, I'm a math major years ago. We're in an environment where it's all numbers. And I thought to myself, well, I can remember numbers. So let's just do a countdown from 10 to 1. And much to the chagrin of the PAO, I went ahead and wrote this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count down from 10 to 1. Two things that does. A, it helps me keep track of where I'm at. And if I get lost, you can tell me where the next number's at. And two, it helps you determine how close I am to finishing so we can move on, right? So, all right, let's just get started. So 10. I have counting this command and discounting some of my training. This is the 10th major tour I've had in my career. And it's been 10 times to meet people, to interface with people, to learn and to grow. And thanks, Mike, for those words, to mature. And this is the 10th time to do that, and it's been the best. And it really is about the people in this room. You teach me something every day. I am far from perfect. I do not do things right all the time, but you teach me, you put up with me, and you have made me grow, and I really greatly appreciate that. You are fantastic. All right, next, 9, right? I can remember this, see? 9. So in the time I've been CO here at Puget, we've had 9 submarines and availabilities. It's really, submarines are the bread and butter, part of the bread and butter of what we do at the shipyard. A submarine, for those that don't know, many of you do because you're all standing here and you do it, submarines are really complex. One of the most complex machines in the entire world, and they're hard to work on. Many of you in this audience have spent days or weeks removing interferences to get to the one thing you had to go work on. I've been down on the submarines where all I see is feet sticking up in the air because somebody's got their body down in a hole somewhere, or I hear voices but I can't see people because they're tucked in behind something. Submarines are challenging. But you, the workforce here at the shipyard, you make it happen, right? You go in there, you tear those super complex machines apart, you put them back together, and you get them back out to sea. It's called the silent service. And if without the shipyard, without the people, without you here at the shipyard, the submarines would be silent, all right? They'd be silently sitting at the pier. But because of you, they're not. They're out there doing their mission. Who knows where they're at? I can't know either. But actually, Admiral Benning might know. Do you know where they're at? Okay. All right. They're doing good things, right? Thanks to you. All right, number 8. See how this is working? I'm good now. 8. So if you drop a pin here in Bremerton, in the shipyard, 90% of our people live in the 8 communities around the shipyard. Now we are humans. We like to be parts of groups. We like to be included in a group. So if I ask somebody, where do you live? Like I just said, 90% of you will say, hey, I live in one of those 8 communities. And in those communities, your leaders, your community leaders, your PTA members, you lead block parties, whatever you do, right? You're part of that community. Now, I could also ask anybody, where do you work? Hopefully, most of you would say Puget Sound Naval Shipyard. I would hope so. The most interesting question, though, that I like to ask people when I go out is, where are you from? And what's your story? And everyone in this room, no matter who you are, you all have a different story. And it's so fascinating. And where you're from, right? We have people, this shipyard, born and raised in Bremerton, very proud, born and raised in Port Orchard. We have people that work at this shipyard from around the world. You know, been in Japan, Hawaii, all over the United States. And it's phenomenal. You all come together to be part of this group and part of this community here at the shipyard. And it is amazing to get to know each one of you. I wish I could have known all 15,000 people. I haven't had that opportunity. I've met as many as I can, and I love hearing your stories. Don't ever forget those. You bring diversity. You bring interesting backgrounds and experiences and thoughts, and you bring it together here at the shipyard. So keep that up. Love everybody. All right, number 7. So if I lump Bangor and Bremerton together, we operate as a shipyard at 7 different places around the world. The detachments in Guam, and the Northwest RMC operating Everett, Seattle, and Portland. What does that mean? It really means we cover the entire Pacific. And we're deployable anywhere in the world. We're a worldwide entity. That's impressive. Think about that. We can go anywhere in the world and work on the ships. So if I look at the Japan folks, I don't think anybody here is from Japan. They'll watch this on YouTube later, hopefully. In Japan, we are ambassadors, every one of us, whether we're permanently stationed there or those of us that travel TDY to Japan. We're ambassadors of the United States when we're in that country. And we have an amazing relationship with the country of Japan. What we do over there is extremely important. What you do over there is extremely important. And I want to encourage you and ask that you maintain being an ambassador and maintain that relationship with Japan. Our detachment in San Diego, really the heart of the aircraft carriers. Small island right there by the city with 3 aircraft carriers always flowing in and out. Tremendous amount of work there. Again, you go down there, you make the aircraft carriers better, make them whole again, and get them back out to sea. So greatly appreciate that. I want to talk a little about Everett and Seattle and Portland. We have a side of our business, the Northwest Regional Maintenance Center, that we don't actually talk about enough. What they are doing, they're a small group of people really manned to manage about 2 to 3 availabilities. And routinely in my time we've been here, we've been up to 7 availabilities going on at the same time. And that's in Everett and in Seattle and in Portland, all together. So to the group, the people that are involved with Northwest Regional Maintenance Center and spend their time in one of those areas, thank you very much. You do a tremendous amount of work to support the surface fleet that we don't talk about enough, we don't focus on enough. So thank you. And we also have people that flow in out of Guam, and we have the folks up at Bangor. So thank you for everything you're doing. All right, what number are you up to next? 6. Thanks, Dave, appreciate that. 6, right? So 6 dry docks. Now, somebody out here is going to be like, wait a minute. Bangor's got a dry dock too, that's number 7. I already had a number 7, let's just stick with 6. 6 dry docks. They're national assets and national treasures all by themselves. So they really are the heart of what we do in the shipyard, right? Without the dry docks out here, we really wouldn't exist. And what happens when you make the determination that you need to stop docking submarines in dry docks for a while because you got some mitigations to take care of? That gets briefed all the way to the SecDef. Secretary of Defense was briefed almost immediately on that. And it may have gone higher, I don't know. It was so involved that the Secretary of the Navy was editing my emails to make sure that we were saying the same thing and we all understood where we were at and the road ahead. Right? I have never seen an effort like that come together to get us back to work. Within a days, we had very smart people, contractors, for people all over the United States coming together to say, how do we get us back to work in these dry docks? It was phenomenal. Amazing Navy response. And here we are today. I'm very excited to see Pennsylvania back in, and Connecticut will be in the dock before long. And I'll tell you, what did you do as a workforce when I said, hey, we're going to pause for a little bit? Nobody complained. Nobody said anything. I had people reaching out to me saying, hey, what can I do? What can I do to help? How do we make this better? How do we get back to work? It was a fantastic response, and you did. You leaned in. You cleared the docks out. Engineers came up with amazing designs. They're still working on those. Tremendous effort. from the workforce. Always a can-do, go get it attitude. So thank you very much. I'm glad we're back to work in the docks. All right, so that brings us to 5. For those that are like math people, like, yay, halfway there, he's almost done. All right, the time I've been here at Puget, we've worked on every one of the Pacific carriers, and that's 5 aircraft carriers. To me, that's kind of the other half of the bread and butter. The submarine carrier people, could you figure out which is bread, which is butter? Aircraft carriers, where I talked about submarines are complex machines, the aircraft carriers bring complexity in the volume of the work. We have a carrier in the dock out here. You count ship's force, you count our workforce, you count the contractor workforce. It's like 4,000 plus people a day on one vessel. That's tremendous, right? The volume of work is phenomenal. And you all make it happen, right? Just like the submarines. If we weren't doing our job, if we weren't working on the aircraft carriers going back out to sea, they'd be parked at the pier. But that's not the case. You go all over the Pacific and here to make sure our carrier fleet is answering the call. All right, 4. The time I've been here, we've produced 4 packages, what we lovingly call the packages. And our part of our business, and you heard it earlier, where we do the recycling of the submarines. We are the only shipyard that does that. And it's tremendous work, right? Those of you involved with it, we take submarines that are retired, we bring them in here, we cut millions of pounds of steel off of the submarines. We take all these components off and get them back out to the fleet where they can be used. We get them out here, we cut them apart, ultimately, build what we call the package. Now, it's not FedEx and UPS type of package. It's a little bit bigger than that, but you do it well. That life cycle, the end of the life cycle of the submarine is very important, and the Navy is very appreciative of the hard work you do to recycle those submarines and retire them completely from the fleet. So thank you. All right, number 3. There are 3 people in my family that I want to recognize. So those of us in uniform, and really any of us wearing work clothes today, right? We don't get to do what we do without support. Support from our family, support from our neighbors, our friends, our coworkers, whatever the case may be. Wearing a uniform, we've had to move. I think this is our 11th move in my career across the country. Every one of them are overseas. I don't do that by myself, right? Actually, I pretty much do whatever Amy tells me to do. No, I would do it as a family, and I absolutely must recognize, and I do recognize, the sacrifices that my family make, and the people that support you have similar sacrifices, right? Giving up on careers, giving up on friends, had to leave, had to move, had to go to somewhere uncomfortable, different schools, all to support some person who gets up in the morning, puts on a uniform, and goes off and does something, and comes back. But to Amy, Riley, RJ, you are my support. You're my rock. You're my reason for coming to work and my reason for going home. So thank you very much for what you do. I think RJ's asking for something more. What? We'll get it later. All right. So number 2, now some of you are like, wait a minute, you should have stopped at family. They're most important. They're number 1, which is true. But there are 2 more things I want to talk about. Really, I'm talking to my PSNS team, and yes, mine for a few more minutes. Then it'll be yours. Hey, 2 things, 2 countries. And you heard the Admiral talk about it. Russia and China, and I should say really the Chinese Communist Party. Right? We all come to work for various reasons. We come to work because we're proud. We come to work because we enjoy what we do. We come to work because we get told to come to work. We come to work because we're bored. Whatever the case may be, you come to work. You support the nation. You support the Navy. You support what we do. There should be 2 motivations out there behind you, and that's China and Russia. I'm not going to go into what they're doing. You can look that up. But I'll tell you, from my perspective, both of those countries would be very happy if you didn't come to work. They'd be very happy if you stayed home, if you didn't bring your talent, you didn't bring your passion, you didn't bring everything together to work on the vessels and support the fleet. So whatever you do in the morning, you have all these, and I'll never diminish why you come to work, but keep in mind what we do is very important. We support the Navy, we support the nation, and our national defense. So, wearing a uniform, those of us that do when we go out in town, occasionally when we get away from work, right? And many of you say it, we've heard it a lot, thank you for your service. But I will tell you right now, standing here looking at all of you and the entire shipyard, I want to thank you for your service. Because what you do is service to the nation, and thank you very much. All right, and the last, number one, and that's each and every one of you. What you bring to the plate, what you bring in every day is amazing. The passion, the talent, phenomenal. You bring it, you bring diversity, you bring inclusion, you bring ideas, amazing. I'll leave with a few thoughts, because you are the most important. This shipyard does not operate by itself. We could all disappear and the shipyard would just shut down. It operates because of you, the people in the shipyard. So a few thoughts for you. A few, maybe pieces of advice. Be proud. Be very, very proud of what you do every day. No matter what piece of our business you have, and no matter how small you think it is, it's very important. So be proud. Own what you do. Own it. Be positive. Work in a positive environment. Build an environment where it's safe to learn. We don't get better. None of us are perfect. We have to learn every day. So build that environment. It's safe to learn. Losing my train of thought. Finally lost it. Number one. I made it all the way to number one. Lost my train of thought. All right. As a group, as you come to work, bring your talents. Focus on your fellow workers. Find your why. Help them find their why. Right? Reflect on yourself. Give feedback to others. Make sure you always get better. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for coming to work, and thank you for putting your passion into what goes on. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being present. And really, at the end, I just want to say thank you for supporting me. It has been an amazing tour. I've absolutely loved being here. And as I go off to Norfolk Naval Shipyard, I will never, ever forget the experiences I've had here and the people I know here. And I'm always a huge, huge fan of everything you do. So thank you very much. And with the incoming Captain Crinklaw, I've known him for a while. You are very lucky. He's a very talented man. He's going to be a great CEO for you. So thank you all. Yeah, please be seated. Thanks. Go ahead. All right. So now I'll read my orders.
Guests, please rise again.
Oh, sorry,
Attention
Brian.
to orders.
See, I knew you keep us in line. Thank you, Brian. All right, Bupers Order 0263. When directed by Reporting Senior, detach in June 2023 from duty as Commander, Puget Sound Naval Shipyard and Intermediate Maintenance Facility, and proceed to your next assignment as Commander, Norfolk Naval Shipyard. Captain Crinklaw, I'm ready to be relieved.
I will now read my orders. Bupers Order 0183. Report no later than May 2023 for duty as Commander, Puget Sound Naval Shipyard and Intermediate Maintenance Facility. Captain Mosman, I am ready to relieve you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Captain J.D. Crinklaw, United States Navy Prospective Commander, Puget Sound Naval Shipyard and Intermediate Maintenance Facility, now Shipyard Commander. Sir. Guests, you may be seated.
Thank you, Brian. I'm on the bottom rung of Jip's oratory scale that he gave, so I got a book. So I don't need to repeat Captain Mosman's acknowledgement of the many special guests who are with us today, but I would like the opportunity to thank a few people. Admiral Galinas, Mayor Wheeler, again, thank you for being here, and thank you, Admiral Brown, for your time and support. My parents and sister, with my biannual trips across country and between countries, this is the first time in many years that we've actually all been in one place. Thank you for joining us. My best friend, Captain John Bowman, and Dr. or Colonel Robin Bowman, and their family, who've had to listen to my stories, never embellished, of course, of ship maintenance challenges over the last 25 years. Thank you for being here. The cast of thousands who have mentored me, trained me, befriended me, and carried me on their shoulders. Captain Mosman and I have worked together across the enterprise for a number of years now. It is because of his leadership, integrity, and commitment to mission that I know that I'm inheriting an incredible world-class team. Jip, I want to express my personal gratitude for all you've done the last 2.5 years. And while you will most definitely be missed by everyone at this command, we know you're going to do great work back east. The Norfolk Naval Shipyard team is lucky to have you, and I look forward to our continued partnership and our ongoing efforts in enterprise-wide improvements. To my wife Junko and my son Kai, there are truly no words to express my love and gratitude for your grace and the strength you have given me across 11 moves and 9 schools. Thank you for your support and your sacrifices. My love for you is eternal. To my PSNS and IMF family, I am incredibly proud to be your 52nd Shipyard Commander. My family and I can't say enough just how happy we are to rejoin our family here at the shipyard. My last experience entering the yard immediately as the operations officer was, quite honestly, terrifying. The size and noted professionalism of the Puget team led me to wonder if I had been equipped to handle such a daunting responsibility. You immediately welcomed me, supported me, and gave me the growth and confidence to succeed and now return. Without taking up too much more of your time this morning, I'd like to share a short summary of my command philosophy, which I hope will give you a better idea of my goals as a leader and as your shipyard commander. I will leave my ego at the gate. There is always more to learn. I will hold myself accountable. I will have the courage to urgently and frequently self-correct, building learning teams with the humility to recognize there is no grand solution, but thousands of small solutions that move us forward. I will be honest and ethical in all that I do. Our business is difficult because it is critical. I will be vulnerable enough to acknowledge my triumphs and my mistakes so that I may learn and correct them. I will work as a member of this team. It takes each one of us to get the job done, and we all deserve respect. I commit to providing an environment where all members of the workforce, civilian, military, and contractor, feel they are valued and respected, and that their work is important. I am dedicated to our mission. Our work during the next decade and beyond will secure the Navy's strategic advantage in the face of our adversaries' advancing sea power. I've been fortunate during my career to work alongside 3 of Puget's finest shipyard commanders, Admiral Howard Markle, Admiral Select Diana Wolfson, and of course, Captain Mosman. And if I've learned anything else from these 3 remarkable leaders, it's this. There is nothing more critical to our success as a shipyard or our success as a Navy than the people on this team. We do not accomplish anything without you. Thank you again for being here, and to our PSNS and IMF team, I look forward to meeting each and every one of you. Thank you.
Guests, please rise and remain standing for the benediction and departure of the official party. Chaplain Burns will now deliver the benediction.
The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you. The Lord be gracious to you and give you peace. Amen.
Amen. Staff, attention, bosun's mate, post aside, boys. Deputy Commander, Industrial Operations, Naval Sea Systems Command, departing. Captain, United States Navy, departing. Puget Sound Naval Shipyard and Intermediate Maintenance Facility, departing. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's change of command ceremony. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a great day and a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Staff, dismissed.